Right. Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. What shall we do today? Look, I'm giving up on recording videos and narrate them afterwards. So this is going to be 100% live, directly recorded, and I will share with you everything that I'm going to do in real time while I'm doing it. So you will be able to see everything that I'm going through, all the mistakes, and hopefully this will be far more useful for you in the future compared to what I was doing before. So what do we have in here? We have our little spaceship that I created in the past. The videos are still in there in my channel on YouTube so that you can see them. So you can see how I achieved this in SolidWorks. Um, Please check it out and let me know what you think about in the comments. And if you want to do something more specific, or let's say step-by-step tutorials on how to achieve this or how to import it, and with more details, do let me know in the comments. So what do we have in here? Right, we have this cool spaceship. Let me select it and turn it around so we can see. This is a scene that I created before, so I introduced some water, which I don't want anymore. So I'm going to just hide it just in case I may need it afterwards. And now let me make this a bit bigger so we can see what do we have in here. I introduced some lights around, and I've built some, I don't know how to call them, let's say reactors. This is quite an interesting effect. I worked quite some time to achieve this. I just wanted to give the idea of some energy getting out from the spaceship, from those areas, and from the back. I do have some materials in here that I want to adjust and that I don't like. So I press M and let me see, where do I have the material? I do have quite some, I did try quite some stuff around. So I go to the group, open it so that I have access to these elements that I have in here so that I can assign the material. This is just a simple material that comes with Corona, the car paint shader that I want to assign so that I don't have different materials. The scene is fairly simple, but what do we try to achieve, or what do I want to achieve, and for which I will record the videos fully until I achieve the scene, is this. So I did this using Midjourney. I just wanted a simple scene and something that it is really cool. And instead of the house that we have in this scene, what we want to do is to achieve something very similar to this, but with this spaceship. And we will use Corona as the main render engine. I have the tendency not to use Photoshop at all, or very lightly, despite I do know how to use it. It's just that I like to set up everything in such a way so that the heavy lifting is done by the render, not by the Photoshop. The cool thing about that is that later on we will be able to adjust the scene, and we can try to get even more things from the scene, even more from the scene. So we aim to achieve this, but then we can alter and we can try to do as much as we can with it, without having the house, of course, but having the spaceship. So what do we have in here? So we have a foreground, something very simple, but we will try to achieve something more than this, something that is having more texture than this foreground that we have in here. We have a little human silhouette in here, and we will use the Corona, how is it called? I think library. Let me see how it is called. Cosmos, yes, Corona Cosmos, for which from which we can take the humans, and we will use also bridge, Quixel bridge, in which I have the assets, the 3D scan assets, mountains, and all that kind of stuff. The scene is, I would consider it simple, but you know, everything that seems simple in the beginning, when you get into details, is not so simple anymore. But for now, it looks quite simple. A lot of fog around, a lot of empty background around. Hopefully, we can do something more from it than this, and we can bring some more color. So let's dig in. Let's see how we go with it. Right. So spaceship is in here. Um, bear with me. Let me get it a little bit to refresh. And let's go to group. Close the group. And what do we have? We have quite a lot of cameras around and quite a lot of lights. So what I'm going to do, I'm cleaning up a little bit from what we have in here, so that we don't get entangled into all the stuff that we have. Now, what we have in here, we have 3 corona volume grids, which I used some helicopter dust that I bought from let me see, where did I bought them from? TurboSquid, yes. So I bought them from TurboSquid and I'm just using them. To use them, quite simple, you import them, and after you import them, you can adjust the scale of the scattering and the amount of the absorption. So for example, if I'm putting a lot more absorption, it will look a lot more like plummets of sand, for example. Right. So let's try to set up some cameras around first, after we delete them from here. And I will delete all the other lights that I have, so I don't really need them anymore. I will need a corona sun. I will unhide the target so that I can also see the sun. Delete some other geometry that I had before. And I had some tree. I have the tree in there from previous iterations that I did for this. So let's try to set up the camera. Let's try to bring some scanned assets and have a feeling to see how it looks like. Setting up the camera, I don't set up any depth of field on it, not just yet. I think it would be nice to set up that. Let's see, something like this. I do want it closer. Okay, I do want something more like this. Yep. So I want for the spaceship to be somewhere here in the foreground. Yeah, it should be a bit more towards the center. Let's rotate a bit. That's it. That looks quite all right. I'm not sure if I'm still using the light in here, but for time being, let's leave it there. And let's see how it looks right now. Okay, quite exposed. I don't like to use the exposure and all that kind of stuff, especially in the beginning, because once we add the fog and more other details, I prefer to adjust them around instead of relying on simple exposure. Now we don't have any skylight environment, I suppose, yet showing around. There you go. So we have the skylight environment now at 1 as intensity. It's quite a lot, but it may help us in the long term because our foreground background is quite white. Right, so I switch up to clear sky. Now, very interesting, if you set it up at 15,000 meters, you will have it a lot more towards blue. Now I'm adjusting the intensity so that I get a lot more blue out of it. Very important as well, and let me switch to perspective so we can see this. Very, very important. When I set up the sun, I set it up in such a way to exclude the plane that is giving me this effect. By the way, this effect is not done using particles, so it has its own drawbacks, but yeah, I didn't want to use any other add-ons and software for doing this effect. So for how it is at right now, I would say that is more than enough. Now, what's happening in here? I'm having this plane which I think I can give up on for now. We need to adjust a little bit our skylight. Let me see. No, I do want it to leave it like that. I'm not sure if I want to have a volume effect. No, it's quite fake. I don't like it. What also I will want to do at this stage, despite the lighting in the picture was like that, I want to search for something a little bit more dramatic, and maybe from one side, especially after we will introduce the fog, it will be nice to see some gut rays and all that. Right, so that's how it looks at this moment. Let's see, I prepared as well a box with fog, which, by the way, if we want to have fog, we really cannot have it visible if the box or the volume that is containing the fog is intersecting the camera. You see that? Inside the box, no fog. Outside the box, fog. And for now, I don't have it set it up to be very powerful or to have a great intensity. Now I do want to try to put this to black as absorption, and now I will want to increase all these like that. We can adjust it afterwards, so it's not now a very big deal. I did say that I am having excluded those boxes, but yet I don't have them excluded. So let's try to do that. So you can see the difference. Right. So for example, if I'm going very, very high with this, you will be able to see, you see this in here, are the reflections, is the reflection given by the sun. So if I'm going to the model, open up the group and see which one is this, just to understand the object. Oh, all right, so reactor children free, and I will have also reactor children free and none 30. Very odd names. I didn't really care much so at that time about their names. So right now it proves a little bit difficult to remember which one is which, but let's start with none. 30 first to exclude it, and then reactor chain free. Reactor chain free. Okay, let's search for it. Oops. Reactor chain free. That's it. Now after I'm clicking OK, you see those white reflections in this area should disappear. There you go. So now it's perfectly blue as we want it. Now let's keep it up. By the way, the scene is almost empty and it's already at 1.5 million polygons. So if you want to render perfect surfaces from Solidworks or from any other packages, do expect to have quite some heavy poly count. Cool. So let's see, what can we do for the foreground? So I did purchase quite some 3D assets in here. So I'm searching for something that is big. First of all, quite big. I want to have room for playing around. So I'm looking over the assets. Usually they say as a size you should see a human next to it. So if you don't see a human, it means that it's very, very big. So I'm having quite a few. As an example, this one, you see a little human in here. It's giving some dimensions as well on this Quixel bridge. I'm looking for something fairly flat and in the same time to not have so much green around. So I'm having quite a few. I don't want to buy any more for now. Just for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to use what I have already. Okay. Something big and flat. Okay, so we have this huge Nordic coastal cliff. All right, let me cancel the render to be sure that I'm not going to have any issues around. I do want to save before. Okay, and let's import it. Written exported successfully, but it will take a while. There. So we have this huge rock. I think it came rotated. Yes, it does look rotated. So let's rotate it to be more as we expect it to be. Okay, let's wait around first. Let me go to the camera and see what is going on. Right. So we want to have it as a foreground, and we will probably need to rotate it a bit more so that we catch, so we kind of take the flat part of it. Yes, it is very, very big. Not a problem. First, I'm adjusting it a bit so that we can. There. Now, what is going to happen most probably is that it will come with a lot of displacement. So I'm going to select Spaceship, close as a group, just so that I can get it a lot easier to maneuver around. And let's see what this render is giving us. Okay, so it is giving us a lot of information and a lot of, yeah, it's quite big. So let's reduce it in size. By the way, I am working on meters as a unit setup. It doesn't really matter much as long as you know what you're doing. But it's just to keep in mind that being in meters, it will affect, for example, the displacement. Right, I think I need slightly smaller than this. I do want to have details pop. I don't want to be just big for the sake of being big. Let's see if I switch to camera. Yes, of course, not even visible yet. There, let's raise it up even more. Okay, of course, not yet there. And I think it's not yet there also because we should rotate it a bit more. I'm with angle snap as a rotation, but I think I will switch it off for now. I do want to have a bit to match it a bit better. Yes, so let's see from here, and that's it. This is one of the things that didn't match very well. There. So now if I'm going back to the camera, that's it. Good. Good, good, good. Even smaller than this. We don't expect to have a lot of, we don't need it all in here. We need just enough to create the foreground. And to capture some nice details. Okay, now let's go and see the displacement in this thing, because I have a feeling that the displacement now it will be way over. Oopsie. Let's connect those together. Let's keep those things together. There you go. Let's see how much displacement do we have. Almost 0.2 meters. Doesn't seem too much, so I think we can still reduce this in size even more. We can always combine with 2 or 3. Yes, let's try a bit more as a displacement, minus 0.3, and let's try 0.3 meters. Yes, having the scene quite big, I think I will try more like 2. That's it, and minus 1. Yes, that's a lot better, but I think exaggerated a bit. Good. So now we have this huge rock around. Let's see, how can we make things a little bit more interesting? That's it. I still have some details that I don't like yet. We can always use some more assets to complement this geometry that we have in here. Cool. Okay, let's try 3 meters. I do want more details in the end, and minus 3. Okay, so minus 3 works quite all right, but I think I'm having too much in there. Yes, minus 2. That's it. Let's have a look on the picture in here. The camera is not so low in this picture, so let's try to respect that and to not put the camera so low to the ground. Okay, doesn't let me select it for some reasons. That's one of the things that I don't like about 3ds Max. There, so we can put the camera in here, something more like that. Now, given the fact that we have a lot of fog in the scene and the fact that we don't see much that is happening on that ground, I think we can have the option to adjust the environment for the ground there to be affected by sky. So in this way, right now we have it nice and white. That's nice. That's very, very nice. Now, fog. We can do it in many, many ways, but I suspect that with the fog this time, we want to have two layers of fog. First layer will be for the fog that is revealing the mountains, and the second layer will be just for the rest of the scene, just to use it for the sun. Now, another thing that I do want from the sun, because it's quite big. Yes, the size is 7, so I wanted to have very soft shadows, right? But I think we can set it up at 0.3 because I do want to have some God rays at some point in time. This rock right now seems smaller than we wanted. Good, so now we can set the rock something like this, and we can do some duplicates. We put them as an instance, just so that we don't, in case we modify something for one, it will stick for all. Okay. All right. So what do I want? Do I want something like that? Let's search for a different, for something less sharp. I do like the rocks that are in here, and then let's keep them lower. Perfect. Now the rocks are kind of clashing with this spaceship, so it would be nice if they would be just about enough to see the silhouette of the spaceship, but not not to reveal more, so we don't have any pods or anything like that. So what I'm doing now, because this I don't like the contour in here, so I'm going to select the original one and tilt it a bit. There you go. So if we look in the picture, it has a slope around. It would be nice to recreate the same slope. So front, I think is left. Yes, left. Let's try to recreate that slope that we have in there. Good. I still don't like the fact that it has so much of displacement. So I'm going to put a little bit less. Okay, it's only normal to adjust things on the go and based on how you feel about them. So it's nothing wrong at this stage. Just play with what it is and try to see how you feel about how it looks like. Right, now we have fog. So I created the box in here to give us the fog, which this would be the main fog. What I do want to do right now, because I do want for the fog to lose it in the background, I will want the fog to be somewhere around here and to cover initially those rocks. By the way, if you want me to share or make a tutorial on how to build those nice I don't know how to call them, reactors, I don't know, engines, that nice engine effect, and to share how I build the whole network of shaders for this effect, just leave a comment in the comment sections and section, and when I have the time, I can make a tutorial specifically for that. Now, going back to the fog, I can see, for example, that the plane that is covering the rocks is not sufficiently close to the camera, so I don't like that. I want to move it closer and closer so that I have the fog covering, but not covering everything. That would be awesome. I want it lower. That's it. And now I will want it adjusted. Looking again at the picture, it's all quite white. Probably I will need to adjust the environment to keep it white rather than blue, or the sun. You know what? Let's change the sun first. And instead of direct input, let's keep it realistic. That's it. I don't like that yellow tint that I have in there. And let's go to the fog. I know where every shader is in here, or every material, because I worked on different versions of this before. So that's the only reason why I know. It's no science behind all this. Good. So now we have this fog effect. Good. That is revealing some of the things. Yes, we have the sun fairly from the front of the camera, so that's the reason why it looks like that. Let's search for a different position for this sun. Something more interesting, and I don't like the fact that it's so much from the top as a light. There, that will look interesting. Yes, but the fog is quite thick, so I'm thinking to reduce it slightly. I do want to see some of the edges in here, but I don't want to see too much. Again, I'm going to the rocks and I want to adjust the material. Let's cancel the backup. And let's try again, -1. Maybe 0.2. Ah, yes. A little bit more simple. And 1.3 and -0.3. In the end, it was a bit too exaggerated. There. So now it looks a bit better. I still don't like that I have those in there. So maybe I can use this one like that, and I can use the original one, but with different to have different parts from it. Let's see. Yeah, I think that will do. Now, remember when I scaled it down quite a lot? Well, if we do that, we will have areas that will have the information that is way too much. So what I'm going to do now, I will try to search for more flatter areas. I do want to have some bits, but I don't want to have too much of rocks protruding. So the bigger will be, the softer will get, right? So let's try to get even more. Let's try to find for some soft areas. Let me cancel this box so we can see what's going on in here. There, that's looking a lot better. In the end, given that it is so much fog in the scene, we will not need to have such details as long as it will create a nice gentle slope around here. Let's see, let's rotate this around for a bit more. And in here, yes, maybe something like this. Too much of a slope. There. Now let's take the smaller one, put it in here down. All right. Okay. Let's put the camera in here. Okay, so something more like that. Oh, again, too much fog. I'm going to adjust it to be, actually it's not too much fog. What is going on is too high. There. Revealing some bits, but not all. Now what we need to do is to increase the width of this so that is perfect, is natural around here. Or what we could do equally, we could keep, instead of making this bigger so that we don't have details, just in case. What if we need more details in the future and we just don't have them because this thing is too big? So we can always keep it as the dimension that it was before, but what we could do is multiply it a few times instead, and in this way we can create the slope that we need. But having more details for the future. After all, maybe we can put some grass around and create a different scene with this instead of just an empty rocks. Right, so I do want it as a slope. I understand. So I am right on the corner. That's the reason. Let's try like this. There you go. Right, where do we have the camera? Right, so we have the camera in there and it's quite empty in the foreground. So we need to fill it up as we start to lose. We start to see it like a hole between the camera and that foreground. So let me see, where am I? Okay, so let's put it close to the camera. There. Multiply it once more. Keep shift while I'm dragging it. Are we behind the camera already? I think we are. Oh, okay, yes. Yes, we are. Okay. There, so now it starts to look way better. I do want it like that. But I can see that it is quite some space in there. I can keep it like reduce this amount of space taken by the rocks, but that will make as well the camera to be higher. Let's go to the camera. Yes, indeed. Let's keep it there. Something more like this. Let's go again to the image. Yep. So fairly simple image and very simple foreground. Let's see it with the fog now. Good. Looking really better. It does have some depth, but we do have some fog as well. Let's cover it a bit more. There. Now, what I don't like this one in here. I don't like this rock, and I don't like this rock in there. They are a bit too much. So let's try to hide them around a bit. There, that's far better. And now I do like the fact that this is closer to us, so that's good. That's looking already very nice. Now, if I tilt this a bit, let's see from the front. Ah, yes. There. Let's keep it like that. Yes. And this would give a little bit of depth to the image. Now let's tilt it a bit to see. Oh, I still don't like it being tilted that much. All right. And now going to lift this fog to reveal some of the things in there, in the left, but not too much, towards this distance in here. And let's have a look. There. I still don't like the fact that I'm having some kind of fake shapes around here, and that is so edgy, I would say. So what I'm going to do to resolve those edges, not to resolve those details in there, however, we will have to deal with them later. I'm going to apply a turbo smooth and increase the iterations to be sure that I'm going to have enough polygons for my displacement to do that heavy lifting. And now it looks far better. Not so pointy polygons around, nice shapes, and this spaceship looks quite nice in the environment as it is. So what do we need right now would be the second fog. That would be less. You know, before adding that, I do want to see how it looks on white, almost white. So instead of 15,000 meters as an altitude, so we force it to be towards blue. Let's try on 0. And we put the ground color, instead of being affected by the sky, we put it towards white. Right. Yes, less blue and more details on those rocks. And yes, we will have to deal with the foreground after. Not foreground, background. But what I can do right now is go to the sun and let's try a different angle. I will be closer to that picture. We do have quite a lot of stuff going on, so I don't like the sun intensity at 0.1. Actually, I don't like, it's not the sun the problem here. The problem here, it will be the environment, which is at 0.1, 0.05, a bit less. It's a bit too much light in here. And let's keep the sun at 0.05. Yes, and I still don't like the fact that I'm having some green stuff on those rocks. So you know what, at the end of the day, we can always remove the albedo's texture and we can leave them as simple as they are, rather than having that noise given by the color. And we can adjust as well the color, maybe put them towards more towards black or more towards white to blend a bit more into the environment. Nope, white is going to make them too much. Okay, yeah, we can leave them like that. And now going back to our fog. Let's see, what do we have in here? Where is my fog? Here is my fog. Yeah, let's decrease and let's increase the fog to hide a bit more of those details. Keep just enough. There, that's looking good. That's looking closer to what we have. Let me cancel this auto backup. I need to disable the auto backup. I don't like it. Yeah. So for now, this is looking quite all right. It's not there yet, but still getting closer and closer. I like the fact that we have the color from the spaceship. The fog is revealing just enough. So let's put some mountains just to have an idea of how it will look like. Let's look onto something that I have purchased before. Remember that I had some mountains in here, some big things. Yes, there you go. Let's import this one. I think it's already done. Yes, it is. I need to make the setup of this bridge to not give me things upside down. But now I'm just ignore it for the sake of doing this. I'll probably live with it until it becomes so annoying that I will finally dedicate some time to set things up. But for now, let's put this mountain into the distance. That's a bit too much distance. Let's get it closer. Let's get it higher. Still too much. Yes, because we are looking at the peak. So we need the peak to get out of the fog just a bit and to be closer. Again, I think I need to reduce it in height, and I think what I want to do now, because it's a bit too flat, I will want to raise it. Yes. So once I scale it up, that's not quite all right to scale things up like this. It's a little bit reckless, but I don't have too many mountains and I don't want to create any more mountains. So being in the distance and not revealing too much, I think it would be just fine. I want a sharp peak there. Now what I do want would be to go and see the material and I want some more details to come from that displacement. I do like that is like this, but I do want a bit more details from the displacement. So let's try first minus 3 meters and 3 meters as a displacement. Yes, sharper, a bit sharper, that's good. And now, again, I don't like the fact that is having not too many polygons, so I will apply a turbo smooth. 2 iterations should be just fine. And that's looking quite all right already. So I want to multiply this, scale it up, and I would want to make it a bit flatter. And yeah, and let's raise it up a bit. It's a bit too much. Oh, I didn't select the mountain. Let's get the mountain. There. Somewhere around here. Instance. Scale it down. Of course, we will have to, I suppose I will have to adjust at some point the material so that it doesn't look quite the same. But for now, just to have an idea, I'm just rotating it around there. More towards the distance. Let's see, what do we have in the image? Yes, we have quite some ridges around, so we will have to find some mountains, some rocks at some point in time to have some nice ridges. But for now, just to have a feeling about it, how about it looks like. We can play with this. We can always multiply them after all. Good. Now if I go to the atmosphere and if I am going to apply some fog, some fake fog into the scene, I just want to see if it's going to increase that depth feeling. Not too much, and it's quite fake. I don't like the fact that I have a sharp line on the horizon. But yeah, I think maybe tomorrow we can have a look on how to create the rest of the environment to look more and more like in the picture. And yeah, I think we will need to do some color correct on this because I have colors all over the place. I don't like that it's not quite white. But yeah, let's have a look on like a full scale image. Yes, it doesn't look too bad. Definitely it needs a lot more work to it, but still. And that is it for today. So If you like what you see, please subscribe, like my videos, and stay tuned for the rest of the videos that will follow. It will be very, very interesting. Thank you. Enjoy your evening.